let's talk draw to first shot. Another favorite. Now, what's the point of having a good draw to first shot? Now, we are lucky these days that we've got all types of videos and YouTube channels like Humilitas and Active Cell Protection, where they explain why you need a good draw to first shot. So the idea is, at least at your base, have a 2-second draw to first shot. What does that mean? On beep, to you taking out the gun on target and you clicking off the trigger, bang, in 2 seconds. The idea is to basically explain this. If you are able to see the back of an ear or back of the person's head, that basically means you've got 2 seconds to shoot that person. Basically, how does that work? Let's say you're being robbed and the person is coming here, maybe to press here, and then they go there and you're over there and you're able to see this area. That means before I recognize anything is happening, even if I hear you taking out your gun, I won't be able to react up until I've got 2 seconds. So that means that it's important for you to have a 2-second draw to first shot. Then they'll say when you're getting into expert level, you need to have a 1.5 second to first shot. Again, why? Again, if you're able to see my ear, the side profile of my face, that basically means that you will have 1.5 seconds before I even can react to what you're doing. I might be able to see it off my periphery, but I won't be able to exactly know what you're doing up until that 1.5 seconds is over. Now, most self-defense demonstrations, especially for civilians, is gonna come from a level of an ambush. That's why you hear people describing, I didn't see him, came out of nowhere. So which means that you're gonna have to counter ambush, which is why then it's important to understand 2 seconds back of the head, 1.5 seconds side profile, or if you're able to see the person's ear. So let's go through what basically needs to happen. The first thing I would say for you to understand is to have a master grip. What does that mean? A master grip basically means as you are taking out your pen out your pocket and you want to write something, you always grab it the same way every single time, whether it's a Koki, a pencil, or whatever. If you are getting a knife out and you're chopping vegetables, some people like to put the one finger on top of the blade. Some people put the knife here and then start chopping. That idea of how are you holding the tool is what you call basically a master grip. So again, in a pistol, a master grip also exists, and you've discussed grip, which means that web, high into the tang, 3 fingers, finger off trigger and high on the frame. So that's basically your master grip. Once you start to understand your master grip, the next thing you need to understand then is basically clearing your garment. Now, most people will keep on using these terms to say you must defeat your garment. Kanti, how many enemies do you have in your life, including your clothes? So just take it out of the way, or basically moving it. That's it. The idea of moving it is to have as less signature as possible. As I said, you're going to be coming from a counter ambush, so you don't want to be having too big movements. So as soon as you start to understand draw to first shot, as soon as you start to practice it with understanding that you're trying to have what we call a quiet draw. One that doesn't telegraph. It doesn't show what I'm going to be doing with my hands. As you know, once I see the elbow and the shoulder shrugging, I'm getting something around my waist area, pocket, jacket area. So it gives you an understanding that, that guy's about to draw. But if I do this, you won't be able to see this easier because it's not telegraphing. It just might be me just holding myself, being scared, right? So that is the idea, that when you're thinking of drawing, the idea of getting rid of your garment is the idea that you don't want to telegraph. Even when you're going to go get your gun, you don't want to telegraph. So I use this idea of it's just a bicep curl to your right boob. That's it. Bicep curl to your right boob. There's no need for you to do that or do any funny thing when you're getting your garment out of the way. Now, there's a couple of ways of getting rid of your garment. Some people that love to have big t-shirts, they like the idea of cupping their hand like this. Or sometimes I'll have hand in pocket and I will squeeze t-shirt with my hand like that. And again, if I want to get rid of it, it's just a bicep curl. Now, the idea of you coming from left to your right boob is very important instead of doing that. As you can see, the relationship of how my garment then still hides the grip of my gun. Tough to get it in there Well, then I'm going to be taking out the gun with it holding onto the t-shirt. We don't want that. That is why then I want you to go from that side all the way to your boob, because then it opens up the t-shirt nicely beautiful so that you can have access to your gun easily. So again, just the bicep curl. So practice all of these, because again, let's say you are in a group of people, you're starting to feel unsafe, or you start seeing people doing this kind of number and start looking around. Well, fix yourself. Easy. So that's one way of practicing, or practicing this way. This is the one I don't like for quick draws in a hurry, because again, I don't have my hand like this all the time. I'm not going to be able to cup. And as you felt there, I even hooked my belt as I was coming up. So not my favorite, but it's a good one you stage if you're feeling a bit unsafe. You know, easy, hand in the pocket. I'm looking very gentle right now, calm, relaxed, but easy for me to be able to do that. So that's the sort of first couple of ways of understanding where to put, and all different types of ways. The other one that I also like to use is to fold over my hand. But most people then sometimes get this, there's two ways. There's either this hand goes under this one like this, but this I feel like it's more like it's showing. But again, if I'm holding onto my hand, I first have to let go of this hand, move the garment, move this hand, and get into my gun. So another way that I like to do, especially if you're feeling a little bit threatened with the understanding of taking the garment from underneath, from the seam at the bottom, is to have your hands in this fashion. But what I don't necessarily like about this one, it can work, is just that I have to do too many movements. I have to move this hand out of the way, and then this one goes there, and then it goes for the gun. Unlike if I'm like this. If I'm like this, I'm not going to be holding onto this hand. It's just going to be chilling like this in that area. All I'm doing is both hands move at the same time. Do you see what I mean? Instead of that. It's very subtle, very small. Might take you even 0.3, 0.4 of a second, but the idea of this, having to move this first and then having to come back again, I don't like. I like this kind of understanding better, because then both hands move at the same time, trying to do exactly the same thing. So that's the first understanding of feeling threatened. You want to like stage your draw the first shot. Now, let's say they say to you, hands up, and your hands are here, or maybe they literally want you to be in this fashion, or maybe you're okay having your hands here. The idea for me is to give myself a reference point. The reference point that I want is the tang, because that is where my right hand is gonna go. So what I do is that's where I start to feel for with my left hand. So my thumb is actually feeling for the beaver tail. The reason it's feeling for that beaver tail, I found that every time I put my thumb there, look what happens to my material. It gathers. If the material gathers, easy for me to grab. Unlike going for that kind of feel. This one feel, if my hands are dry and I'm wearing a particular t-shirt, it's very difficult for me to do this. And the other thing also, I smack my wedding vegetables a lot when I'm practicing like this, which is not ideal. It's gonna happen, you'll see. It's gonna, how would you do that? You'll see. And then the other one I don't like about it again is that I'm smacking my stomach. It makes me kind of like, you know, flinch before anything happens. Like I'm wincing before something I need to do. So that's why I don't like that one. But what I like is to give myself that reference. The reason is giving me two things. One, it gathers the material, easy to grab. The other one that it gives me a reference of where the web is gonna go, basically. So when I touch it, I know my gun is definitely there, and I know where the web is for me to come and get into that. So to practice it, basically what I'm basically trying to do is coming down, finding that area, grabbing the t-shirt, and again bicep curl. So that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to have my thumb in that area. Once I'm in that area, material gathers, I grab, I come up, and it happens in one motion. And that is why I like a design of our t-shirt is to have this print here. Is quite sort of rubbery, you can feel it, so it gives you some purchase, something to grab onto. This is a prototype, so we're going to increase them to about 10, make this bigger. Anyway, getting back into the idea, thumb into your beaver tail area. Some people are going to go, but my beaver tail is so long. Trust me, you are able to do that with all guns, no issues. Again, this is how I practice until I'm happy with the idea that I understand that I'm coming from here and I'm grabbing my t-shirt into my boob, into this area, chest area to my right, bicep curl. I'm not doing this kind of thing, moving my shoulder, telegraphing. So I'm just practicing that. Great to practice it in front of the mirror so you can actually see what's happening with your shoulder. Then once I'm understanding that I need to be able to do this, is then what happens and how do you get the gun? Now I've got two ways of going to go get the gun. The one that I would say I teach most is drawing the C. Do you see how my hand is moving? As a C. It's coming from here and I'm drawing a C. The reason I'm doing that is I'm preparing my hand and my middle finger to come into the space and hit the trigger guard. That's basically what I'm trying to get to. Once I hit the trigger guard, it gives me that feeling that I know, okay, I'm at where I need to be with the trigger guard. You can see I've got a callus there. As I'm hitting the trigger guard, it gives me a feeling I know when I'm there, I can grab. When I'm there, I can grab. When I'm there, I can grab. So again, it works in this fashion. C, gonna get the gun. C, gonna get the gun. So I'm in this area, something happens, I need to get the gun, I just C. I just draw C and find that space and I go there. Which is why it's important to have a holster with adjustable clips so you can have enough gap here between your belt and the grip of your gun. You can see mine is quite large, which is how I prefer it. Again, you push the pistol up because it's going to be loaded. It's going to have a gingikongo effect like that. You don't want that because then it creates like a shelf like this. Now everybody knows that you're carrying, which is why then I use a wedge. Go check out concealed carry things of how a wedge works. But again, that's the idea. I'm using a C. The other method that I like is basically coming down into that space. This is going to be difficult for a lot of people because again, you're going to be hurting yourself. You might hit the belt, might hurt your nail. Oh, shame. You might bleed, you might hit the holster, any of these areas here because again, you're doing it blind. And again, I practice one all the time because it's what I used to do every single time to go in there. Again, I practice as I'm doing now. You practice this until it feels comfortable. I'll be walking around the house. Again, as you can see, I'm using a purple mag, so it means gun is empty. Even this magazine is also empty. But again, I'll just be practicing like this around the house just to make sure that I can get it easily all the time in there. So again, either the C or you're just coming straight down to that. Again, when I'm coming straight down, I'm trying to feel, again, for a few things. I'm feeling for my knuckle underneath my trigger guard. I'm also feeling for this area where the web of my hand is, where it touches the beaver tail in this area. And again, as you can see, I have my thumb over the back plate, and I also do this with a gun with a longer beaver tail. And the reason I do that is this. Please have a look at this. If I go get the gun and I basically bury my thumb behind, what's going to happen is that every time I practice, I'm going to be scratching my tummy. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to make you practice. It's going to be painful. So first reason. The most important reason for me is, please look. If I put my gun, my thumb over the back plate like this, look what happens to my trigger finger. Because again, I don't want it here because as the gun comes out, it's on the trigger guard. There's no way I want it. I want it high on the frame, so as the gun comes out, it's high on the frame as my trigger finger. But if I then start to bury it behind, look what happens to my trigger finger. It goes lower, it goes down. That is how my mechanics work. So of my body, that is how my muscles understand articulation. I'm not trying to do it on purpose, but every time I go here, and if I put my thumb behind there, my trigger finger goes there, and then it's on the trigger guard or trigger finger, and then you can easily ruin your wedding vegetables. So that is why I prefer the idea that my thumb sits on the back plate. Make sure that my trigger finger is high on the frame. As it comes out, it's in the right place, and as I'm trying to marry, that's when the thumb now makes it over and clears the back plate and the slide so I don't get slide bite. So those are the one thing that I do. So once you are here, thumb goes over. Once I feel these touches, knuckle of my middle finger touching the trigger guard, underneath the trigger guard, and I feel the web and the thumb grabbing there, that's when I know I can just grab the gun. So again, it's just that. Master grip, master grip, master grip. Every single time. So that's all I'm trying to do. So again, I practice these one by one in isolation. Once I've got this right, once I feel like I've got this, then I do my t-shirt like this and I just practice either the C or I practice going to go get it straight down, either C or north to south, north to south. If I feel that I've got these two in isolation together, then I practice the two together, C, down. And then if I feel that I've got them, all I do is do it quicker. So those are the two things that basically are very important to understand. What strategy are you going to be using to get rid of your garment? Second thing is, what strategy are you going to be using to get your gun and have a master grip? Now, what happens once the gun is out? And it's in two fashions. Firstly, you can teach in the, well, I still do, that when you are starting out, I go, once you get into your master grip, press down a little bit, that it gives you confidence that I've got the gun. And then you press out. But now, if you're able to, because some people then when you're starting, when you are new, if I just go up and down and go grab it, this is what happens. They grab with their whole hand and forget where the trigger finger needs to be. So that is why I go grab, stab, because when you stab, look what happens to my trigger finger. It stays connected and engaged. So when I take it out, it comes out in the right area. But then if you're a little bit not experienced, if I go, no, just go grab it, I find this closer to the trigger or trigger guard more often than not. So again, it's a training thing, it's an observation thing. You need to turn on your observer and make sure that when you have this finger, give yourself a reference point that if I feel my clips here, it's going to come out in the wrong area. So I don't want to feel the clips at all. So those are the little things or cues you can give yourself. So again, get rid of the garment, come into there. Again, you can practice this on the mirror so you can see if you're telegraphing with your shoulder again. So if you can see the C, see, I'm not doing that, right? And if I'm coming down, I'm not doing that either. I'm just coming down. Now, the idea of keeping your head still so it doesn't move is that to keep your eye on target, because again, if I move off target, I have to realign with target, and then there's going to be more things to align, because again, as the gun comes out, I need to realign other things again, instead of just keeping my eye on target, getting the gun out, and being on target. And that's basically what you are basically looking for. Once you've basically stabbed, gun out, is just basically marrying. At marrying, you're going back basically to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 drill, where at 5, putting on pressure. At 4 to 3, aiming. At 3 to 2, trigger on finger, prepped to the wall. At 2 to 1, I don't want to hear 1, I just want to hear bang. Basically, this is what it means. If you are able to be good at your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 drill and get it to you being at 1, basically 1 second, that basically means get your gun out, get rid of the garment, get your gun out in half a second, and then you've got 1 second to get to there. That basically, that's how you get to your 1.5 draw to first shot. And that's basically the whole draw. You're basically combining you getting your gun out, mastering your master grip, getting rid of your garment, getting to the gun, master grip, out, marry the hands. That's where the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 starts to happen. Once you get this to 1 second, get the gun out in half a second, and there you go. You've got 1.5 seconds to draw to first shot. Stay strapped.